What's up, traders? Going 3 for 3 today. Let's get to it. All right, traders, so our first trade and our big trade today was VXRT. We're just going to jump right into this. Make sure we're on ×2. So everything is in ×2. If you want to watch this at normal speed, feel free to go back and check it on half speed on YouTube. It'll be normal speed that way. So this trade, we got in a pretty decent entry here at 823. We were looking for that $8 test, but as you can see, the high from yesterday was a little bit higher, around 810, and it bounced right off of that and kind of took us for a ride after this, as you'll see. So zoom in, we got the line there at that previous high. So now I'm basically just trying to get out because I realized that it bounced off of there, and just really kind of looking to get out of the trade before it did exactly what it ends up doing. So as you can see, it comes up a little bit higher. It feels like it's topping really, quite well there around that 833, 34 area. So we actually went ahead and added, looking for this to come back down. Gets our average up as well. Look to take out those normal shares a little bit higher now, and we can still make some money on the original shares. So that was the idea behind this one. Unfortunately, that's not what ends up happening. I think we get down into the 820s, but we don't quite get the move back down that we were looking for. And ultimately, that ends up kind of messing with our 112 type strategy that we look to employ, because it, in a way, we want that 1-1 to be further away from each other. But I thought I was kind of adding to a winner in a sense here, but I ended up being wrong. So it's not actually what ends up happening. So as you can see here, VXRT starts to get up towards 850. And as you can see, I go up to 150 shares, and I was going to add 150 if it just blew through 850. But it did not. So I split that in half to make the two portion of the 112 into two sections. So if it does go through 850 here, the idea is to add the other half of that 150 on the north side of 850, which you can see it does here. I see it start to struggle right away, so I add it immediately. Because usually when it goes through a $0.50 like that, it's either going to go or it's going to try to go and then get rejected. And as you can see, that tried to go and got rejected. But as you can see, it was a little bit of a fake out there as well. Does try to go a little bit higher, ultimately does not. But as you can see in the live video, if you go watch it, my face starts to look a little like crap. We built up some share size here. What are we going to do if it continues even higher? And so I was kind of going through the process in my head, and I was more than willing to add more to this if I had to. But as you can see, our first ad there ended up looking a little bit too close to the first one. But again, at that time, we thought we were kind of adding to a winner, but that didn't end up being the case. So now we're in pretty decent share size here on VXRT. It does start to come back. Just looking for 837. Our average is 840. But we're looking to take off the majority of our position there, which was 250 shares. We get that off there at 837. We got another 100 sitting here at 832 of 125. So if we get this off, we'd have the 25 shares left. And I do think I get ready to take this off higher, but then we do end up getting filled at the 832. Let's see. Yep, right here. And then we get filled. Okay, so now we're pretty much realized a huge chunk of the position, definitely over 90%. Just looking for a little bit more of a flush here down towards that 810 for the remaining of the shares. And there we go. I ended up taking it off via the cover 100% position, and that ended up being a pretty good trade. Wish I could have been a little bit more patient with the initial cover, but you couldn't see it because I was looking at other trades, possible trades, that it started bouncing right at my average a bunch. And we were pretty heavy, and I didn't want to let the full amount go back to the highs after it tried to pull back and bounce right off our average. So once it came down and hit us at that 37, I was more than happy to just take that off. But I do feel like if I could have waited till like 32 or closer to 30 for that initial amount, that would have made a pretty significant difference, right? So 5 cents on 250 shares, it adds up, right? So you're talking an extra $15-ish. So I would have made this trade almost goal on just that trade. And then the 100 that I take under that, even lower, would have added to it even more. So as you can see, when you build up the size, if you can be a little bit more patient, the trick to that is, if you are going to try to be a little bit more patient, is if right here it decides to bounce and go back to the highs, and your strategy is after a pullback, if it goes back to the highs and you didn't take anything off the cut, you're going to end up losing a lot more because you were trying to be more patient. So there's definitely a fine line in there. And yeah, that one can be a tough one to figure out. So what I'm doing is working, so I've just been sticking with it, and we'll keep going from there. So BP was our second trade here on BlackBerry. You can see it's starting to make a little bit of a move here. It's starting to extend away, just waiting for it to jiggle. There it is. I mean, again, this isn't ×2, but you could see that the price started to jiggle there at that 41 area. So we get in, just kind of looking for half the move back down, just for the quick scalp. And unfortunately, this just does not give it to us. I'm going to fast forward through this one a little bit because it just grinds a little bit higher, sits there, tries to come back lower, tries to make the pullback, and then it just doesn't want to like flush or anything. So it's very frustrating. You can see it right there before I switch over. That's as low as I wanted to go. I think it was 1036. It just kept going to 1036 or 37 and not getting through. You can see I give it this one last attempt and it does get through, but we do not get the flush like I was expecting. So once it started to get bought back up is when we end up taking this off. So there it is. We can watch it again here. 30. I want to say it's 37 here. Yeah. So if we get through 37, which we do, I was expecting it to flush down towards 30. It does not. It only goes to 35. I think it drops to 34 for a second. Yep, 33. So we didn't quite get the flush, and then it starts to get bought back up. And I just realized, okay, this isn't the trade that I was looking for. I was looking for the bigger flush there, and it obviously didn't want to do that. So we end up taking it off, and that was a small winner there. To go back to, we did have one more trade, which was on LXU, which was after the stream. Same kind of scenario. It wasn't necessarily an A+ trade. I'll just use the current price line. That was the previous resistance. You can see it did spike up through 750 up towards 770. We got filled at 763 on the ask. The spread was actually really bad. I had an order out at 732 to get covered. I'll just use 731. And it kept bouncing off of 740. There was somebody sitting at 740, and then it kept going back up through to 760. And most of the time, there was almost a 15-20 cent spread there. So even when it was at 740, the ask was usually above 750. It was like 755, 760. So I never really got a chance to get out at 740. I just left my order there at 732. I gave it one more chance at 740. I'm talking like 5 times it tried to go down through 740 and just couldn't break it. And I know if it would have, we would have got the flush to our order at 732. And the ask was coming down with the bid every once in a while. I think the lowest it got was like 44, I want to say. I think it was like 40 by 44. And we ended up taking this off when it went through, or it was trying to go through 50 for like the 5th time. So that was a little frustrating because then it did go higher, and then right after that it ended up working, which was pretty frustrating. But again, I wasn't really looking later in the day to let something, run against me, especially a trade that wasn't necessarily a great setup. So yeah, that was our 3 trades. We ended up at like 67% of our goal for today, which isn't too bad. It's only, in the grand scheme of things, it's $13. Should be, one good trade away from our goal. So hopefully tomorrow we can have a few more opportunities, and we'll go from there. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Always appreciate the support. Any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Peace.